Welcome back to my channel for another Spooktober video. If you're following along, we are on night number 12, and tonight's edition will be another true crime video for those of you that have been missing the true crime content. This is a case quite similar to the first case that I shared, so that's kind of why I spaced them out a little. This is a solved case, and this is the case of Taylor Van Diest. Okay, we'll talk about it at the end. I'm not going to ruin anything for you. Anyway, I really hope that you guys are doing great, and I also hope that my stomach does not growl too much in this video. I waited an hour trying to get it to stop, but this has to go up today, so anyway, Taylor Jade Van Diest was an 18-year-old beautiful young girl from Armstrong, British Columbia, and she loved Halloween. Actually, much like myself, it was her favorite time of year, and she always looked forward to dressing up in costumes for the occasion. Now, when I researched Taylor, I realized that before she passed, she was really active on social media. She had a close-knit group of friends that she would joke around with, and she had tons of pictures with on her Facebook. She was witty and funny, and she had tons of inside jokes with her friends. And even though she was really active on Facebook, she was really an introvert. She enjoyed playing World of Warcraft, watching Netflix, and snuggling with our doggo. Taylor was beyond beautiful. She had this beautiful dark brown hair and a killer smile. And I know everyone says that about people's smiles, but just look at her pictures and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. At just 18 years old, she was at a really pivotal time in her life. She had recently graduated high school, she had finished up her driver's ed classes, and she was excited about getting her very first tattoo. She had so much to look forward to. But on this particular evening in question, Halloween 2011, 11 years ago, the only thing that she was looking forward to was getting dressed up in her costume and going trick-or-treating with her friends for the last time. And, you know, a lot of people kind of roll their eyes when they see teenagers trick-or-treating. I don't care. Come to my door. I will give you all the candy that you want. Because I wish I could have trick-or-treated. So, anyway, let them be kids. It's the spookiest night of the year. Wouldn't you rather them trick-or-treat instead of smash pumpkins? Anyway, Taylor knew she was getting a bit old for it, so she was kind of wrapping it up with her friends, and this would be her final year trick-or-treating. This year, Taylor decided she was going to dress up as a zombie, and she made the costume herself. She painted her face white. She put fake blood on her little cheeks. She wore a purple shirt, and she kind of tattered it up, putting holes and tears in it to make it look distressed. She kind of disheveled her hair, pulling some of it over to the side, just making herself look generally disheveled like a zombie would, we think. Usually she would be trick-or-treating with her twin sister, Kirsty, who she lived with at home with their mom. But this year, her sister had other plans. So Taylor would be meeting up with her two friends, Zoe and Clay, as well as her boyfriend, whose name was Colton. Now, the area that these kids lived in was safe, and they would be trick-or-treating in a really safe area. So no one was really worried about these kids going out alone after dark. In fact, from everything I read, no one even thought twice about it. So Taylor left her house at around 5:50 p.m. to go meet up with her friends. And the route that she took on foot was a high-trafficked area where there would be people and street lights, and this road was often traveled by children on their way to school. And even though it would be considered a safe route to take, Taylor was a smart kid. She was very much aware of her surroundings, and she kept her phone in her hand while she walked. And because she was smart and aware of herself, this is why she quickly noticed someone was following her. So while she's walking at about 6 p.m., she sends her boyfriend Colton a text message. And it says, being creeped. And she spelled it CRREPED. Now this is quite relevant, but we'll talk about it. Colton said that it was definitely unusual because Taylor hardly ever misspelled words in her text messages, and she wasn't usually so short and abrupt. Colton tried to text her and call her back, but he did not get an answer from Taylor. So Colton and their friends Zoe and Clay decide they've got to leave this group and get in their car and go find Taylor, who is walking towards them, right? So they're driving around with the window down, calling her name out of the car, but they couldn't see any signs of Taylor anywhere. So they're searching and searching, and meanwhile, across town, at about 7:30, Taylor's twin sister, Kirsty, receives a really weird phone call. It's from Taylor's phone, but it wasn't Taylor on the other end of the line. In fact, this call came from a group of local boys. They had found Taylor's cell phone near the railroad tracks, and they were calling numbers on this phone to see if they could track down the owner of the phone. Kirsty initially thought, well, maybe Taylor just accidentally lost her phone somewhere. She was supposed to be out trick-or-treating with her friends, right? So she decides to call the other guy in the group, Clay, to let him know that these kids had found Taylor's phone, to let Taylor know. So she assumes Clay will relay this message to Taylor. But Clay tells Kirsty Taylor hadn't shown up for trick-or-treating, and they couldn't find her anywhere. So now everybody knows something is really wrong, and it's only been like an hour and a half, right? Kirsty calls her mom, and her mom calls the police to report Taylor missing, while everyone went to search for her near the train tracks where her cell phone had been found. And horribly, they find her at approximately 8:45 p.m. At approximately 8:45 p.m., Taylor was located near the train tracks, lying face down in the ditch. She was passed out, but she was still breathing, and it was clear to her family and friends that something terrible had happened to her. She was bloody, she was bruised, and she was unresponsive. They called an ambulance, and Taylor was rushed to the local hospital. At first, her injuries were so severe that doctors believed she may have been hit by a train. But upon closer look, it became apparent that Taylor had been viciously attacked, so badly that the doctors were unable to save her, and she passed away in the hospital the following morning. The story of Taylor's attack and murder was spreading throughout this community. The town was horrified. They were absolutely scared out of their minds that something like this could happen in their safe little neighborhood, especially in such a public area on Halloween night. And even more horrific, she believed that the voice was female and came from the direction of the railroad tracks. Another resident said she also heard one scream. She said it was like really high-pitched, as though someone was trying to scare you really badly. But again, it was Halloween night, so no one took these screams seriously. And just 9 days after Taylor's attack, the RCMP received a letter from a person claiming to be Taylor's killer, warning the police that there would be more attacks. At the time, officers said that they were trying to determine if this letter was authentic. Taylor's autopsy provided more information with regards to what happened to her, and the violence that she was subjected to is absolutely unreal. She had been beaten and strangled with something. She suffered no less than 6 blows to her head, and one of them fractured her skull, which caused a severe brain injury. It was also apparent that Taylor fought for her life. She absolutely fought. Her body was covered in defensive wounds. 2 of her fingers had been broken fighting off her assailant, and she had scratched her own neck trying to get whatever they were using to strangle her off. Now, there was a glimmer of hope in solving this case discovered in Taylor's autopsy. She had managed to scratch her attacker. Their DNA was under her fingernails. But when that DNA was run through the system, there was a match. But it was to an unknown person who had assaulted a sex worker in 2005. They assaulted them at knife point. That case had never been solved, and this unknown person had not been found or named, but it was still a clue. So they go back to this assault case from 2005, and they talk to the victim of this case, and they put together a sketch of this assailant, who they believe is the suspect in Taylor's assault and murder. And with a sketch that showed exactly what this person looked like in 2005, they put out a description for people to look out for. This man was described as Caucasian, with a darker skin tone, about 25 or 26 years old, and he was very stocky built. The sketch shows him with thick eyebrows, short hair, and distinct sideburns. Police also said to look out for someone with scratches on their face, neck, and arms, because again, Taylor really fought back, and we know that she managed to scratch this person enough to get DNA under her fingernails. So with this sketch and the description out in the public, tips come pouring in. The police received more than 150 new tips in just the 24 hours after releasing this description. And there's one name that keeps showing up. and he'd even been charged with escaping police custody in the past. So the police aren't buying what he's selling. So after they can't locate Matthew and they're running out of leads, they decide to wiretap Stephen's phone to see if he knows more than he's letting on, because they're pretty sure that he does. And this is a great idea. I don't know how they managed it. It worked, though. They listened to phone conversations between Stephen and Matthew as Stephen helped Matthew evade capture from police. They discovered Stephen knew where Matthew had been hiding the whole time, and he had bought him fake IDs, including a fake driver's license, a fake bank card, and a social security number, or social insurance number. I'm not sure what it's called in Canada. So basically, he bought his kid a whole nother identity for like $500 US dollars. I really didn't know that becoming a whole new person was quite so cost effective, but so the police are listening to these conversations between father and son, and they are able to track down Matthew, who's now living and working in Collingwood, Ontario, under his new identity. Collingwood, there's a G in there. And on April 4th, 2012, they arrest him at the hotel that he's living in. They took samples of his DNA, and they discover that he was a match for both the attack on the sex worker and the attack on Taylor, as well as a third attack that he committed on his 19-year-old neighbor named Kylie Paul. That would have been his first attack because it happened in 2004. He broke into her home while she was sleeping and assaulted her. After all these years, Kylie had no idea that it was her neighbor, Matthew, that had done this to her because he'd been wearing a mask. Imagine finding out like 8 years after being attacked in your own home that it was your freaking neighbor who violated you. I can't with this guy, I can't. So Matthew kind of folded like a fan when he started getting interrogated by the police. He admitted to everything, including confessing to killing Taylor. He told the police that he was drunk and high, and he'd been walking around this Armstrong neighborhood specifically looking for a woman to have relations with. But he really wanted to have a woman that wanted it to be consensual. He never actually planned to assault anyone. Dude, your history kind of speaks for itself, but okay, keep trying to dig out of that hole you're in. He said he saw Taylor walking alone, and he followed her for a bit before, I guess he changed his mind and didn't want it to be consensual anymore, and he decided to attack her. When no one was around, he pushed her to the ground and climbed on top of her. But what he didn't expect, which I can't understand, is for Taylor to fight back. So he hit her over the head with a flashlight he'd been carrying repeatedly until she stopped moving. But she was still alive, so he tried to strangle her with his hands, and when that didn't work, he used a shoelace. Then he got back into his truck, drove away, disposed of the murder weapons in a dumpster on his way home. Matthew Forrester was charged with first-degree murder, assault, and sexual assault for all 3 attacks. Police also decided was just trying to hit on her, and things got out of hand, and that's why he pushed her down. I cannot. It was pretty clear to the jury that this wasn't at all what happened, so after just 24 hours of deliberation, Matthew was found guilty of first-degree murder, and he was sentenced to life in prison with no parole for 25 years. I don't know where I was going with that. But this would not be the end of it. Matthew filed an appeal, and his conviction was overturned, and the court agreed. Like, what? The judge in the first trial had made 2 errors that constituted a new trial for Matthew Forrester. The first was relating to the details of Matthew disposing the murder weapons, and the second was related to that text message that Taylor had sent to her boyfriend Colton about being creeped. The judge did not instruct the jury on how to handle these 2 pieces of evidence, so a new trial was ordered. I'm not quite sure what that means, so I would love someone's explanation in the comments about what that means. How is the jury supposed to handle that any differently than anything else? Thankfully for Taylor's family, who really didn't want to relive this nightmare all over again, shortly after a new trial was set, Matthew decided that he would enter a guilty plea for a lesser charge of second-degree murder so he could get a more lenient sentence. So before this, you said you were not guilty, but you confessed. So this was more or less a plea deal, and it really gave Taylor's family and friends mixed emotions. They were absolutely thankful not to have to relive this in another trial again, but they felt it was pretty clear that Matthew was quite guilty of his first-degree murder charge. And they were right to be upset. Now, the difference between a first-degree murder charge and a second-degree murder charge relates to the element of sexual assault. If the jury found out he killed her while either sexually assaulting her or even just trying to, he could be charged with first-degree murder. And in a taped interview with the police that played at trial, he even admitted he was walking around the neighborhood looking for sex. Either way, with the guilty plea of second-degree murder, Matthew Forrester was sentenced to life in prison with no parole for 17 years, and 12 years for the other 2 cases to run concurrently. So really, 17 years, so he will be eligible for parole pretty soon. He could be free at the age of 45, which seems incredibly unfair to me because Taylor will never have the opportunity to grow up, get older, and live out her dreams. The maximum sentence that Matthew could have received was 25 years with no parole, which seems more appropriate to me. At the sentencing hearing, Matthew's attorney gave a few more details regarding what happened on that Halloween night, at least according to Matthew, anyway. He claimed that Matthew was on a drug and alcohol binge that started around noon on Halloween day. He had consumed magic mushrooms, marijuana, and a lot of vodka. And he was so very safely high and drunk out of his mind when he drove to Armstrong around 5:30 p.m. He decided at this point to get out of his truck and walk around because he was too messed up and he wanted to sober up. This guy's a bunch of bad decisions. And then he spots Taylor, who was walking towards him. Matthew claims that the 2 of them actually had kind of a short conversation. She told him he was on her way to a Halloween party and he could come with her if he wanted to. I'm sorry. He asked her if he could go with her and she didn't answer him. I was just making stuff up there. Anyway. was all because he panicked, and it wasn't planned. So he also makes the following statement to Taylor's family. I'm so sorry I've taken your loved one away from all of you, and I hope that in time you will be able to move on with your lives and one day find peace. I really hate that I even have to report on this case, but as we come up on another Halloween and another anniversary of Taylor's murder, please remember to take measures to keep yourself safe. Taylor did. She walked a public route, she told her parents where she was going, she texted her friends when she felt unsafe, and she screamed for help. But she was still attacked. So remember, stay with people, keep your phone out, put your keys in your hands, like a weapon. And this Halloween, remember Taylor Van Diest. She was a beautiful young girl who had her future ripped away by a man who just liked to assault people. I hate cases like this. I know we've discussed it so many times. I know we have. You know, it sucks. It sucks that it had to be like this. And having been an assault victim myself and having to kind of pull yourself out of that situation and go on with life, I hate to say that I really wish he had just assaulted her and left her. Like, you didn't have to beat her to death. I mean, not that I'm saying I want anyone to be assaulted. Please don't take it that way. Don't come at me. Someone will anyway. But she would have lived. She was 18 years old. She had all this life in front of her, and this serial assaulter just took it from her, basically because she wouldn't be quiet. I wouldn't be quiet either. I'm not gonna say it was premeditated. The assault was premeditated. Maybe he was looking for consensual, but it seemed to me he kind of liked the unconsensual stuff, if you know what I mean. So I don't know. I have a hard time with cases like this because it makes me absolutely furious. And it makes me sad because who knows if it had not been Halloween, if someone would have helped her. People heard her scream and they just didn't respond because it was Halloween. And maybe if they'd gotten to her faster, she could have gotten to the hospital faster and maybe she would have lived. I am terribly sorry about the wind noises in this video. I got up and made sure the windows were closed in the middle acquisition from a video game company to sponsor one of my videos, and I have a YouTube channel, and he just, I don't know, I guess maybe seeing all of the work and time I have to put into it, he is like, nope, that's not what I want to do anymore. So I kind of let him live out his dreams here on my channel with you guys, so thank you so much for supporting that. I appreciate it greatly. I really hope that you are enjoying Spooktober. I've kind of decided that I'm going to start posting other types of content on my channel, I'm going to try, kind of randomly, like on Wednesdays when I post my Patreon video and things like that. I have a plan. Whether my life follows that plan is a whole nother story, because my life never follows the plans that I want it to. Anyway, what do you think about this case? If you're still listening and you can still care, I don't think this guy should get out. I know someone's gonna disagree. I'm pretty sure I know who it is. I'm looking at you. We've talked about this. I don't know. I mean, one random attack, but three, this guy's like a serial attacker. He's gonna get out, and I'm not saying he's gonna murder